Good evening and welcome to this week's worldwide broadcast of The Joyner Report. Now here's your host, Angela Joyner.
Hi. Thanks to everyone for listening tonight on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network and at UPRN 105.3 FM in New Orleans. Just as a reminder, you can on your cell phone by dialing 704-631-4060 and entering the station ID code. I'm just looking here at the Pal Talk chat room, and it looks like we've probably got about 30 people here already. So hello, guys, and I'm glad to see you in the chat room. If you can, go to the homepage and download Pal Talk. It's a free chat room, and you can submit your questions or comments or just join in the fun there. Tonight, my guest is James Fox, a researcher, investigator, and film producer on the UFO phenomena. I met James, I think he's been to Stephenville about 3 times when he was covering the Stephenville Lights event. The last time I saw him was when we were on Larry King Live in July. And James bought some cowboy shirts while he was here, and I've seen him on a couple of interviews wearing those shirts. Welcome, James. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's a pleasure to be on the show. I was just reminiscing about, was it January, I think, of 2008, the first time we met, and you were still with the local paper.
That's right.
And I don't know if I'm sure you did notice the one scene in the film where I come into the office and you're asking me a question about the origin or why it was that this alleged craft did not disturb the air or make a wake or any of those reasons. And, you know, it was a rather funny moment in the film. My response, I thought, that was a nice little moment.
Yes, and for those listeners, James just sent me his new movie, I Know What I Saw, and I've watched it twice now. Last night I started watching it, and I had to watch it in spurts. And then today I tried to review it and kind of watch it all at one time. And I got to tell you, James, when I finished that movie for the second time, I had this feeling of, it was kind of a mixture of a feeling of anxiety and excitement. It was like, okay, James has a lot of evidence here that this phenomena is real, that there's many, many credible witnesses. James, you've interviewed people all over the world. And I was kind of surprised at my reaction that, it was kind of a mixture of anxiety and excitement.
Well, it's funny, because the birth of that film really came about with making some improvements to Out of the Blue. I Know What I Saw was never supposed to be an entirely new film. I was just... I had received a letter, I think it was in 2006, from Universal NBC, who purchased Out of the Blue because it had been broadcast in 2003 on Sci-Fi. And so the broadcast option expired, and I got a letter from NBC Universal stating that they were not going to renew, which I didn't expect them to anyway. And so I thought, well, I'll just revamp Out of the Blue. I'd lost some steam in 2003 and set out to get some additional interviews in 2006. And here we are, 2009, with an entirely new film.
Well, maybe that's why it took you longer than you thought.
Well, it's interesting because I look at it now, and I've watched it with family and friends, and realize it's really a 12-year journey. That film, the new film, I Know What I Saw, incorporates lots of new stuff, but also there's shots of me in my 20s and 30s over the last 12, 13 years.
And the title comes from several of the witnesses saying to you as they were being interviewed, "I know what I saw."
Exactly, and we had a working title, Beyond the Blue, for a while, and I just said, well, it's going to be a working title till something else.
I know that was a good title too. I kind of wish you had done Beyond the Blue and then colon, I Know What I Saw.
Yeah, right. Well, Beyond the Blue was too close to Out of the Blue. We needed to separate the two films entirely, since Out of the Blue's got a history, and it's really it's a totally different caliber of movie. There's a lot more of me interacting with witnesses. Peter Coyote narrated Out of the Blue, and even the newer version of Out of the Blue, which was never been officially released. So this is an entirely new production, and it needed a whole new name. So,
okay.
But I like it. I mean, it's a reoccurring theme.
Yeah, it is good.
Made by the witnesses, and I like it. Until something better
You're
comes
not
out
going to
of it.
argue with those witnesses because they're adamant about what they saw.
Yes, I mean, they can't say definitively what it was, but they can certainly say what it wasn't.
What it wasn't. And I think that's what we try to do is show, prove first what it was not, and then see what you're left with.
Exactly. Process of elimination.
Okay, so you worked closely with Leslie Kane on this film, right?
Yes, she's with CFI, the Coalition for Freedom of Information.
Mm-hmm. She appears in the movie with you, interviewing, and I don't know if you know, but I know you talked to her this week, so you probably do know. She was on my show last week.
She had mentioned that, yes.
Yes, and she sort of set us all straight on John Podesta's role as far as disclosing UFO information. That what she said was she did not, she thought she could say with some conviction even, that John Podesta is not out to rub elbows with Obama and get him to release information. Then I was listening to a Paracast broadcast, an interview that you did with Paracast, and you seemed to say in that interview that he was in the loop and that you were privy to some information through friends that I think you said about a movement that is happening with Podesta. Can you explain that?
Well, I can go into a little bit of detail, but when I say a push for disclosure, it's not necessarily that's not what I was implying. I think there's a push to obviously for government transparency, declassified documents, but also the goal primarily with the Coalition for Freedom of Information, as well as what we did on November 12th, is to try and create or force the government's hand to create a new agency modeled after the French JPOL, which is a sort of behind-the-scenes work at high levels to investigate or have an arm either created by NASA or the Air Force to reopen investigations and be public. And that's what we're kind of
you uncovered in your film that actually the government is still investigating because you have a document. I think it was in 1976 document.
Oh, I have multiple documents and multiple witnesses. Basically, that's the thing is the standard response now that you get, and I even show one of those documents. Senator John McCain made inquiries in '97 to determine the origin of the craft that flew over Phoenix, actually the state of Arizona. And the standard response he got from the Air Force was, "Hey, we don't investigate UFOs." Well, I can't definitively say it's the Air Force investigating UFOs. It's some sort of ambiguous branch of government, military, not sure exactly the affiliation, but they're absolutely fully investigating cases that happen all around the world. And multiple witnesses, including Jafari and General DeBrouwer, said that they had visits from Americans in the service investigating those cases and making inquiries about those cases. And we've got some documents to prove that as well as testimony. So there is an investigation going on behind the scenes. They're just not making their conclusions or anything public, and they're denying it.
You have no doubt of that. And after watching your movie, I don't either.
There's no question of it. Absolutely no question of it. They're fully investigating this stuff, and they take it very seriously.
Now, so obviously, you must have tried to contact Podesta for an interview for this movie, right?
I didn't.
You didn't?
Nope.
Why?
Because I know they have their hands full right now, and I think that it's going to be more the people. My primary objective with this film, and I've said this multiple times, but is to create a body of evidence that could be palatable for mainstream and really not necessarily cater to the UFO crowd, which I include myself in, but to something that's relatively conservative in a sense. I mean, the UFOs I can't describe that as being conservative, but the more conservative aspects that we can back up, so we're not screaming from the hilltops, E.T., but to get the information out to the general public and the media that there's something truly inexplicable happening. They're structured craft. They're not just fuzzy lights off in the distance that demonstrate flight characteristics, performances that don't appear to be of terrestrial origin. But that's pretty much as far as we're going to take it. But in 2003, I handed out copies of Out of the Blue to
That's what I was going to ask you. I knew that you handed them out in the halls of Congress. Are you going to do the same thing with this film?
I'm not sure exactly what our approach is going to be on this right now. We're getting some amazing reviews, by the way, on that thing. But anyway, one of the things I wanted to share with the listeners is I had the opportunity to discuss this issue with a couple of congressmen and aides, and some of them were aware of what was going on, and others were less aware, and some of them knew no more than the average man on the street. But
who seemed aware?
I'm sorry?
Who seemed aware? What congressmen seemed aware?
Well, it was actually, I found the Republicans were more receptive than the Democrats. But, no one in particular. But point being is that they said if anything is going to be done, obviously congressional hearings would be a boon, but that it was going to have to come from the people because they respond to their constituents. So it really
how is it going to come from the people? What do we do about that?
The people are only going to respond when the information gets out there. When people see this film and information like this, there's just no question in anyone's minds that something truly remarkable is taking place, inexplicable is taking place in our skies, and that there's a concerted effort to suppress this information from us. So I think
one of the things that really impressed me was I have heard that your goal is to get public congressional hearings. Is that still your goal?
I'd love to see that happen. I just want to make sure that that we take the necessary steps to do that because it's a very delicate issue, as you guys are all aware, myself included, and our approach has to be in a way that allows people to feel comfortable jumping on board and getting this to happen. And I think that primarily, our focus should be to get the information out to the general public because they just don't know. I mean, everyone that's seen this film just said, my God, I had no idea there was this much credible information regarding this phenomenon. I thought it was sort of something to laugh at and scoff at, but there's a colossal amount of information, as you've seen. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, it is. And one of the things that really, and I don't know, a lot of people may already know about this, but I had not seen the Costa Rican mapping photograph of the plane that was taking pictures every 17 seconds.
Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. I hired Richard Hall, who's an amazing researcher, and he's been in the field for decades. Because that's one of the things that Leslie Kane was very adamant about to me. She said, look, Out of the Blue contains some questionable film and photographic evidence. You should be much more careful. You should be much more careful and scrutinize what appears in this film. And so, Richard Hall.
Yeah, she's pretty hard line. That's good, though.
Well, very good. So basically, all the photographs and video footage has been analyzed, scrutinized, witnesses cross-examined, and they're vetted photographs and film footage. So we feel comfortable.
So everything there has been vetted in your new movie.
Every single one, yes.
So everything was analyzed. Well, that Costa
as well
Rican,
as the cases.
Huh?
As well as the cases themselves, not just the photographs, but the cases. Those are some of the best cases in the public domain today.
Well, that Costa Rican photo that shows this round object.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That I don't know who I can't remember who you said looked at it, but they said it was definitely three-dimensional, solid, and flying. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Broad daylight, crystal clear, in focus, high-definition camera. Yeah. So, but, there are a number of because everyone always says, oh, why aren't there ever any good photographs? Well, there are good photographs. There are good photographs out there. It's just that there's just a lot of disinformation and hogwash out there, and unfortunately, you have to sift through all that to get to the core. And that's what I feel. I feel we've done that with this film, and we painstakingly, sifted through all that to get to the good stuff. And a lot of very reputable people, I wish I could share names right now, are getting on board with this movement.
Why can't you share names? We like names.
I really can't just right now for fear of jeopardizing, this getting on board. But I can assure you that this is some of the biggest people in the entertainment industry are reviewing this film, and there's some discussion of coming on board. I mean, some of the biggest people in the industry, as far as I can take it. But it's very exciting. It's very, very exciting. And so the consensus this far is that, this is the film we've all kind of been waiting for to jump on with. So,
well, for you, what is the most compelling evidence that you've found? I mean, what really pushed you over the edge?
I've listened. I'll speak in terms of testimony. Having met with interviewed presidents to astronauts and cosmonauts and generals and colonels, which I was very impressed with most of them. Ricky Sorrells impressed me the most.
You gotta love Ricky.
Yeah, no, I was very, very impressed.
His ringtone
for
my cell phone is the Dukes of Hazzard, the Good Old Boys.
Yeah, I love the Dukes of Hazzard. I used to watch those as growing up.
That's what I set up for his ringtone on my phone, and that is Ricky Sorrells. He is a good old boy.
He's got no axe to grind. He's not looking for publicity. He's had a truly inexplicable experience that's caused more problems than it has, than anything else in his life, and yet he's still willing to stick to his story. His story is absolutely consistent. His description of the craft is exactly as others have discussed with me over the years, and he's got a certain very pure and innocent demeanor that I just find his testimony really, really good. His story is amazing.
His story is amazing, and I think he's as honest as the day is long. And like you said, he doesn't have any reason to make up something like this, because actually it's caused more problems for him than anything else.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. And a lot of times people are they retreat and opt out. But he's I admire his integrity and his willingness to, in the face of ridicule and all these looks of or incredible looks on people's faces, he maintains his story. I just find it very impressive.
Well, I know he's listening tonight, and I know he's smiling right now. He called me earlier, and he had heard I was going to interview you. And let's say hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky. Your daughter has some photographs of me being arrested by the local, right after the CNN appearance. Yeah, the constable last year. It was really funny. He took photographs. His daughter took photographs of me being arrested, handcuffed in front of the car for fun. Yeah. And she's never sent those photographs to me. I want those. I'm going to put them on my website.
I have a lot of pictures of you playing pool on my website.
Oh, do you? Oh, great. I actually had a good pool game last night, funny enough. But
hey, another thing, I want to back up a little bit. You said you've interviewed generals and presidents. What presidents did you interview?
Well, I did. I was the first person to get Jimmy Carter on camera admitting seeing a UFO.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That was at a book signing at Stacy's bookstore in San Francisco. And I'd made several conventional approaches with him, but then just didn't have any luck at all. And then I managed to kind of ambush him a little at a book signing.
You did, with your dad, because I saw that in the movie.
Guilty as charged.
But I didn't know that was the first time he had ever been on camera.
On camera, yes. I think he admitted some stuff during his run for presidency, and he'd done some radio stuff, but never on camera. And so that was a boon. And then also, it was funny. I was contacting President Gerald Ford for a number of years, and his secretary one day, out of the blue, no pun intended, calls me up. And Mr. President Ford is ready to speak with you.
Oh my gosh!
My gosh, I'm not. Give me 10 minutes. I need to, to get my tape. I'm not ready. Okay, the president will call you back in 10 minutes. My God! So President Ford called me. Couldn't believe it. Honest
when was
to God,
that?
That was about 99 or 2000, I think.
Oh my gosh! And then you have the clip in the movie of him as a congressman saying, "Well, let's bring him up here. Let's talk to him. Let's get these witnesses and interrogate them." Blah blah blah.
Yes, he was a lot more outspoken as congressman than he was as president. But he did make the effort to get in touch with me. He called my house.
Well, what did he say?
He confirmed his involvement pushing for congressional hearings in 66, 68.
So he was pushing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Then why did Project Blue Book close down?
Well, Project Blue Book closed. It's the irony of the whole thing. We came very, very close to, it's a long story, but basically, yeah, there were congressional hearings, and the result of some sightings that happened in Michigan. The Air Force spokesman at the time, I guess it was the scientific advisor, Project Blue Book, Dr. Jalen Hynek, came out before a crowd of witnesses and media, and I guess the Air Force had pushed for a conventional explanation, and he said it was swamp gas, and that really pissed off a lot of people.
Hynek?
Yep, Hynek said swamp gas, and that really upset a lot of people, and people didn't buy it, and so they pushed for a better investigation and forced the Air Force's hand to come up with something better. They had hearings. And at the end of the hearings, the Congress didn't buy what the Air Force was dishing out. So they decided to hire an outside panel of eminent scientists from the University of Colorado to investigate UFOs and announce their conclusions publicly. And that was the
Robertson panel?
That was the Condon report. The Robertson panel, Dr. Jalen Hynek was a part of, but that was in 1953. And I think the CIA was a little bit behind that. And their basic policy was, it's pretty much adopted, and I think it was in 53, of just, pretty much denial.
Well, do you think that Ford, did he confide to you that he did try to get something done while he was president or not?
He did not talk. He said, I will not discuss that. I cannot discuss that.
He said he will not discuss it.
He would not discuss it. He would. I can't comment any further, is what he said. I have it on tape. I will not comment any further.
Wonder why?
I don't know. But...
I'm really beginning to wonder, when I first got into this and first started looking at things, and I heard that people would say, well, the president does not have anything to do with UFOs. It's all on a need-to-know basis. And I thought, well, if the president doesn't have a need to know, who does? I can't believe that they would leave a president of the United States out of the loop.
Well, think of it this way.
Do you think that's what's happening?
Absolutely. No question about it. Think about it. It makes perfectly good sense, because what are they going to... He's the president is an elected representative. This is a 60-plus year thing that's been going on. And they're going to debrief each president that comes in that could potentially be out of office in 4 years' time about the whole scenario, what's been happening in the last 60 years. No, they wouldn't do that. And I don't blame them, quite honestly. Not if you want to maintain the secrecy behind it all. That wouldn't make any sense. And so I'm sure there are presidents that I know that Clinton made a few efforts to get access, and he wasn't happy with the response he was getting. I interviewed Webster Hubbell about that. He wrote a book called Friends in High Places. And he said that they were not happy with it, that Clinton asked him two things. One was, who killed JFK? And two, are UFOs real? And Clinton was dead serious, and they were not happy with the answers they were getting.
Well, he had the Roswell case investigated. Clinton
he had into that, yep. And then, but I think that probably Bush Sr. was, because he was head of the CIA for a while, he probably knows quite a bit. I have a feeling that Rumsfeld and Cheney know quite a bit as well, because they seem to run in that circle. But they're very tight-lipped about it. I don't know. I think it was.
You heard about Grant Cameron's question.
Grant Cameron on a radio station when he asked that question, yeah, and he said, "Well, Vice President Dick Cheney said, well, if I had been debriefed, it would be secret, and I couldn't talk about it." Exactly.
To me, that was sort of telltale.
Hey, yeah, certainly.
And certainly so, you work with the Arizona former governor Symington, right?
Yes. We've teamed up, and he's been truly amazing. He really has.
And he's in contact with Clinton. So I have this question for you. If
He's in contact with Clinton and McCain.
If Clinton heard the name James Fox, would he automatically know that that's a film producer about UFOs?
I know that a copy of Out of the Blue probably got into his hands. Whether he would remember James Fox or not, I don't know. But I'd like to get, but it would be highly unlikely, I would say, at this point, to expect Bill Clinton to, even though I'd like to get a copy of the recent film into his hands, and I will, for him to comment publicly with his wife being Secretary of State. So
that might be tough.
And I'm respectful of that. I'm respectful of the fact that I understand what the UFO subject comes with a lot of baggage, and it's a risky thing for a politician to do. That's why I think it's very important for us to get the information out to the general public, because everyone considers this one of the. I mean, if it were real, I say to people all the time, hypothetically, if this was real, what would you consider this being a level of importance, 1 to 10? Everyone says, my God, it would be one of the biggest discoveries of our time.
It would be the discovery, I think.
It would be absolutely monumental. And so we just need to get the information out to the general public, and then I think there's going to be a grassroots movement that way. And not.
But all you've got to do is give the movie to Symington, and he'll hand it off to Clinton, won't he?
Well, yeah, but then so Clinton looks at it, and he's very impressed, and he probably already knows that something's going on because he's investigated himself during his presidency. Well, what's he going to do, put his neck out? I mean, it's only the only way these things are going to happen is that it's going to come from the people. I'm totally convinced of that. We just have to get this information out to the people. And
I have envisioned, James, I think it has to come from the people, too, because what it amounts to is putting pressure on them, on our congressional representatives.
Our representatives respond to their constituents.
So what I have envisioned, and I don't know, I mean, it may be totally stupid, I don't know, but I have envisioned that we have a day, like well-publicized day, and we have people, the ones that want information on this particular day, we all arrive at our state's capitals and lobby for it. Each state on the same day to have a group of people arrive. And I think there has to be some kind of grassroots program like that.
Yeah, I think a deluge of one of the things I thought of too. There's a number of different plans that I've been brewing, that have been brewing for a while, and I learned in 2003 when I spent a week on the Hill that our representatives respond to faxes, emails, because if we had a central site set up with sort of a template letter, and you fill in the blanks, your representative from what district, and we feel.
Well, that seems like what Stephen Bassett's trying to do with the million facts on Washington thing.
Right, but I mean, I think pushing the representatives without the people having the information, I think it's just going to take a much. I don't know. I think that we need to. We still haven't penetrated a large enough audience with a credible, film such as this one or a movement that's going to really spark that. Do you know what I'm saying? I think it's a
not
bit
really.
premature.
I don't know what you're saying.
Well, I think it's premature. I think that we need to get this information out to the general public in a much larger fashion than what's been done to date. Do you know what I mean? I mean, what do we have out there? There's never been a real major film on the subject of UFOs, credible film on the subject of UFOs that's been anything more than a history or a sci-fi or a Discovery Channel special. Do you know what I mean? If we could get
but your
something
film is it, don't you think?
I think so. Not trying to toot or horn or anything, but I really do.
Well, why not toot your own horn? It's very good.
I think my primary focus is to get enough people, big people in the entertainment industry behind this, and not to treat this like something that's going to be directed to the UFO crowd, but something that's going to be put out there as something much, much bigger than that.
So you don't really want it on Discovery Channel or Sci-Fi. You want it on ABC or NBC or something.
Yeah, I'd like to get it in. I'd love to get it in theaters, but I don't know if that's. I don't know. Obviously, I'll try that. But yeah, something. I'll do the best I can.
So you have not sold your film for distribution at this point?
It went out 10 days ago. It's being reviewed right now.
Who'd you sell it to?
No, we didn't sell it yet. It's being reviewed right now as we speak by everybody, pretty much. Just about. Yeah, it's being reviewed. Lots of people at CNN have seen it, and it's being sent to HBO and NBC, ABC.
Well, speaking of CNN, both of us were on a show together in July on Larry King, and you have been on there numerous times. What, 8 or 9 times?
I think like 7.
7 times, okay. So you must have had a chance to talk with Larry King. Can you tell us what he thinks?
Well, I remember, I've mentioned this before, actually. I remember this one moment where it was my second appearance. We put together a panelist, some of the people that appeared at the November 12th press conference in Washington, D.C., and we went to commercial break, and there was, I think, John Callahan in from Satellite Feed from Washington. He was FAA. We had Jim Peniston, who, one of the guys that was at RAF Bentwaters, who reportedly touched the craft on the ground.
Yeah, that's the most impressive part to me. That was really cool.
The Deputy Base Commander, Colonel Charles Holt, Governor Symington, myself, and I think Nick Pope. And we went to a commercial break. Mm-hmm. And some amazing things were being said before the commercial break. And we went to the commercial break, and Larry looked over, I think it was at Jim Peniston or Colonel Holt, and he said, "My God, this is real, isn't it?" And they said, "Yeah, this is real." And he had this sort of look on his face like, wow. I mean, he was really shaken by the whole...
He was kind of stunned?
Yeah, kind of stunned. I mean, wouldn't you be? I mean, it's a pretty big story. And these people are extremely credible. And so we just need to keep pushing that. And I think a lot of progress has been made just in the last few years, don't you?
Well, I don't know, because I knew nothing about the UFO community and the phenomena before the Stephenville light story. I mean, this is what, 16 months later for me?
I'm amazed. You jumped right in. I mean, that's just... What did you? By the way, what did you think of the scene in the film with you and I interacting at the desk? That's when I think that was the first time you and I had met. Was it not?
It was. It was the very first time that we had met, and I had no idea who you were. And you came in with your sister.
Yes.
And then I think I think your sister also did the filming that you have in the movie of the MUFON Dublin report.
Yes, because we were shooting updates for Out of the Blue, and we were in Phoenix, Arizona, meeting with witnesses from '97. But this was in 2008. And I get a phone call from CNN, major sighting in Stephenville, Texas. Will you appear on CNN tomorrow night? Larry King in New York. And I had plans to go to Chicago and do some research on the O'Hare case that happened, I think it was in 2007. And so we called the travel agent, canceled all of our flights to Chicago. I said, you guys, the whole crew, I think we were 6 of us together, you guys all fly to Stephenville, Texas. I'm going to fly to New York. We finished out our interviews that day in Arizona. That night I flew to New York. They flew to Stephenville, and I think, Kelly and the rest of the crew filmed that, because I missed that. I got the tail end of that town conference.
Well, how do you afford to do all of this? Who are your backers? How do you fly everybody around? And you go to France and you go to Belgium and all that. I
miraculously raised I call it a substantial, for me it's a substantial amount, through private backing. For also, the thing I wanted to mention is I want to thank all my supporters, because we were selling copies of the DVD, and 100% of the proceeds from the website in 2007 and 2008 went towards, or I think it was 2008 mostly, went towards the production of this film. And we generated enough money, quite a bit of money actually, on the website.
Well, it must have been a ton of money.
Well, we got private investors too, but we went way over, and my investors are all upset, and whatever. It's just the way these things end up. But we went.
You went way over on the budget.
We went 150 over, yeah. But that's just the way it happened. I mean, but I think we've got a great product. I really do. I think that I'm very, very happy with the end result, and it has to do well for me to even break even at this point. But I did it. It's obviously a passion of love, and we started getting traction when, some success with Out of the Blue in 2003. But when Simonton came on board, we really started getting some traction.
Well, one time, I think one of those times when you were in Stephenville, I had asked you, okay, am I going to see you at the Ozark conference and the X conference? And you said, I stay away from the conferences. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I generally don't go to any conferences. I mean, I have been to a couple. Yeah, because I'm making a movie. First of all, I'm not even I'm not an expert. I'm a filmmaker, so I don't really have anything to offer. And secondly, I had already interviewed the witnesses anyway, so I don't really need any more information. So I generally don't. I mean, I'm busy doing production, so I usually don't.
But surely you must be asked to speak at some of these conferences, right?
Yeah, I am, and I've been to a few, and I'm very grateful.
You don't want to go on the speaking circuit, huh?
Excuse me. No, not right now. I'm so busy. I have been so busy. I've been working 7 days a week on this film for the last year and a half, 2 years. I mean, seriously, I have no friends left. My girlfriend left me. I've been working 7 days a week.
Oh, so you're still an eligible bachelor?
Well, I've been moving around the country. I haven't been in the same place for more than 2 weeks. I mean, I'm seriously ready to have my life back right now. And we just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and we think the film is great. Maybe it needs another year of editing. It's like, another year? Are you kidding me? I had to raise more money. I mean, it's just been crazy.
Well, I'm going to spread the word that you're available. If I was single, I'd marry you myself.
That's very sweet. I'm never in one place long enough, and I was never home. I've been home no more than 2 weeks in the last 2 years, and so
really?
My relationship. Yes, really, my relationship fell apart, and but I kept focused on this film, and it was my priority, and I kind of paid dearly for that.
You did pay dearly, it sounds like.
I did, but I think it's going to pay off. I really do. I'm very happy with it, and I'm excited about the response we're getting. I mean, my God, we're getting incredible feedback from people that are not in the UFO field at all. Would never consider a UFO film, and a lot of times when this has been handed off to people, they say, "Look, this is not what you're expecting. This is quite serious. You need to take a look at this." And the response we're getting is just. I'm very excited about it. I really am. Just have to keep my fingers crossed.
And you did say that you sent it to CNN for them to look at?
Yeah, we had a private screening with them, actually, a couple months ago, of a rougher version. But, yeah, and then they've all been, it's been circulated around CNN recently, too. I sent copies there. So.
What's the response? Do you know? Have you heard anything?
Oh, it's been amazing. There's another thing I was going to mention really quickly before I forget. We've been editing a trailer for the film. It's almost there. I think we'll probably have it done by Monday. Mm-hmm. We've got designers on the website. I know what I saw, themovie.com.
I know what I saw, themovie.com.
I know what I saw, themovie.com. There'll be a trailer on that, and I'm thinking I'm going to have it up by Wednesday. We're working around the clock to do that, and I'm sorry that I keep saying this, but it's true. It's been crazy.
No, because I remember when you were in Stephenville in January, you had thought it would be released by the fall.
I tried. You know what happened? We had a rough cut done by then, but it wasn't right. It wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough, so we had to go back to the drawing board for another year.
Wow. So you're getting a good response, and in the chat room, I've got my computer on, James, and people are saying, "How can we get the movie?"
I can't sell. I have nothing to sell to anybody right now. I'm so sorry. I would love to, but I just can't.
Okay.
I can't because I have to pay back the investors before I could. So we're waiting on a big sale. We're waiting on selling. First of all, I could jeopardize the sale of the movie if anybody has it. If I sell any copies, if I sell one copy on my website, I could jeopardize the sale for the movie.
Right.
I just can't do that. I have to wait for a sale. I'm putting together a great trailer. It'll give you an idea of the film. There's some production photos and some more information, a synopsis, and that's all I can offer right now. I'm sorry.
Well, everybody's anxious to see it, and, well, that's a good sign, isn't it?
Hey, if I was independently wealthy, I would give this out on YouTube for free. I really would. I really, really would.
Well, paying back those investors has to be your first priority.
I absolutely have to have investors, contracts with people. I've got to pay those back before I can do anything. I don't have even any say-so in the matter. That's just legally, that's the way it is. So bear with me. I promise you I'll get this out there. I will not stop until that does happen. If there's anyone out there listening that would like to potentially or would consider an event or funding an event such as some screenings, I'm considering doing that and flying in military witnesses and interacting with media and creating a bit of a buzz about that. And I've got some plans to do that. But if anyone is interested, listeners out there that would like to be part of that, please feel free to get in touch with me from my website.
So you are trying to get some funding for screenings.
Well, what I could do is we could people have been very receptive to the idea of doing kind of like what we did at the National Press Club in 2007, November 12th, where you have a panel of witnesses, but we'd screen maybe a truncated version of the film, and then we'd invite just media, and then have the witnesses at the end, military guys, generals, maybe five.
So they can be interviewed.
They can interact with the witnesses, kind of create a bit of a buzz, and also educate the media about this subject.
Hey, listen to this. Grant Cameron is in the chat room here, and, he does the presidential research on the UFO phenomena, and he's saying, get him to tell the Aldrin story. What is that?
Oh, Buzz Aldrin. Yeah, I've been chasing Buzz Aldrin for years, and I used to be kind of tight-lipped about this, but I'll share this if you guys would like to hear it. Am I getting the green light? Am I getting the green light to tell this story?
Yes, go ahead.
I'll give you the shortened version here. I worked on a movie set back in 1995 on a movie with Mickey Rooney. I was just a prison guard. I was an extra called The Legend of Obie Taggart. I don't even know if it was ever officially released. But in any case, I met Jan Rooney and Mickey Rooney and a number of others who knew Aldrin quite well. And they said, what are you doing? I kind of mentioned this UFO interest that I had, and then I was working on a film at the time. I was working on 50 Years of Denial. They said, we're friends with Buzz Aldrin, and he's shared some incredible stories about some encounters that he's had. I thought, well, wow, that's cool. Maybe we can put you in touch with him, is what they said to me. So that's when it started, I think about 1995. Fast forward, I think, 4 or 5 years. I think it was like 99, maybe 2000. I had met his sister, Faye Ann. I won't give her out her last name, but she lives near me in Marin County, California. And she confirmed for me the sightings that they had discussed. She's an art broker, and I was at
This was Aldrin's sister, right?
Buzz Aldrin's sister, yes. I'm friends with her.
Okay.
I went to her 80th birthday last year. And
wow.
So I met with her, and she confirmed for me what he had told her, confirming that yes, he had some sightings. One is a test pilot, and then the other one was on the way to the moon. They saw this object that there was sort of a little more ambiguous. The sighting he had as a test pilot was not ambiguous. He actually chased a flying saucer, according to the witnesses, people that he knows. So anyway, so I, with the recommendation from Mickey Rooney, and Jan Rooney wrote a letter to him, as well as his sister, he grants me an interview. I'm giving the short version. He grants me an interview in Monte Carlo. So I'm ecstatic, I borrow $10,000 from someone, and I get a camera crew together, and off I go, fly to the south of France. He's on book tour. So I get there, and he keeps I'm in Monte Carlo. It's the most expensive place on the planet, right? I mean, I'm hemorrhaging money every day just to support everybody and pay for the hotel rooms. And he keeps kind of bumping it forward a day and a day and a day. And finally, I think it was on day 4 or day 5. I said, look, I can't afford to stay here forever. He said, okay, meet me in the hotel lobby the following morning. And I'm trying to remember, he was in a very swank hotel. So I get there. I was supposed to be there, I think, 9 a.m. I get there. He said, no cameras rolling. And I said, no problem. I will not have any cameras rolling. I get there like 8:45. I'm having coffee in the restaurant. Sorry, the restaurant. And I get a receptionist, or the concierge, comes up to me and says, Mr. Fox, got a telephone call. Are you Mr. Fox? Yes. Go over there, and it's him. He says, I can't do the interview. I said, why is that? He said, Paul Allen had just invested in SETI, that big mogul. I think it was Paul Allen with like IBM or
I don't know.
Anyway, he's a philanthropist. He had invested in SETI. He got labeled a UFO fanatic, and he said, I'm trying to get funding from Congress right now to develop a rocket that's going to allow citizens to go into space, and I'm not going to jeopardize that initiative, and I can't do it. And then he said, and how's my story going to change anything anyway? And I said, with all due respect, it takes people of your stature to come forward to help elevate this whole thing to a more, and he said, well, I'm not going to do it. So, fast forward again another 6 years. Here we are, 2006, I believe it was, or maybe it was 2007 in June. No, 2006.
Mm-hmm.
Was it July of 2007? I get invited on Larry King. Guess who I go on with?
Who?
Buzz Aldrin. So I'm in the green room with him, and he's sort of playing coy, like he doesn't remember me, and I'm sort of. And then Governor Symington said, James, you might want to, this is an American icon. He's landed on the moon with Neil Armstrong. Regardless of whatever happened between the two of you, you got to show him respect. And of course, I do admire what he's done, but at the same time, I felt like, God, why did he do that?
Yeah, that was pretty crappy. Really, you spent a lot of money.
Yeah, no real proper explanation. Anyway, and so I was going to lay into him a little bit on the show, and I did a little bit, but he just categorically denied. As a matter of fact, he started talking about a magician at one point from the night before. He just completely changed the subject and just wanted no part of it. And then his sister
no green room confessions.
No green room confessions, and his sister called me about a week later, left a message on my answer machine, and she said, somebody's gotten to him. And I said, what do you mean?
Really?
I swear on my mother's burial site.
She said someone has gotten to him.
Someone must have gotten to him. He won't even talk to me about it.
Well, who would that have been?
I don't even care about talking about it anymore. I kept it in for a long time, and I feel I'm just going to, that's what happened. That's what happened.
Wow. So she thinks someone got to him, and he just shut down.
Clammed up. Totally clammed up. Well, you imagine.
And he wouldn't even talk to her?
If he came forward, that would automatically imply that Armstrong saw the same thing, and Armstrong's one of the most famous people on the planet. And for him to confirm something would be huge.
Have you tried to interview Armstrong?
Not even tried.
So, wow, that is a story in itself if his sister says she thinks someone got to him because, so after this ordeal of you putting out all this money, you just quit trying to contact him?
Well, I did speak to him actually about a year ago.
What did he say?
It was really funny, He said, well, if you want to, he said, your buddy Edgar Mitchell's out there talking, why don't you go talk with him? He's in the news. Why don't you go talk to him about it?
Oh, my gosh.
Yep. He's done a 180. So, that was that.
And so you did talk to Edgar Mitchell.
Yeah, I talked to Edgar Mitchell in the 90s. I interviewed him in 96 for the first time, and then I interviewed him again in 2000 or 99 or 2000. I went to his home in 99, I think, in Florida. And that footage, I don't know if you noticed that footage of me walking with Edgar Mitchell back in 1999.
Yeah, I noticed because he had on shorts. I thought, oh, Edgar Mitchell has on shorts.
I know. Isn't that funny? That was he had a little ranch. Well, I wouldn't call it a ranch, but he had enough space in his house for a corral and horses. But yeah, well, that story. I hope Grant you. Grant remembers it. I'm sure he's heard that story before. But that's
I bet he does. Hey, so when did you talk to him last year? Was it on the phone or in person?
On the phone. I have his cell phone number.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh! And so you just called him up?
Called him up, and he
tried again.
Funny enough, he was in the South. He was in Saint Tropez, and he talked to me on his cell phone for quite a while.
Well, what else did he say then?
I think we talked about the coffee a little bit. I lived in France for 2 years, so we talked a little bit about the French culture, and I told him how much I love the croissants when they first come out of the oven at 4 in the morning. We talked about that, and then that because you ask for a coffee in France, you get a shot of espresso, or you can get a little noisette or whatever. And in America we go to, Starbucks and we get these massive, I had a friend visit from France one time and he looked at me, he orders a coffee at he didn't even know what Starbucks was, he just walked in to get a coffee, and he walks out with this thing about a foot tall, he's looking at me like, what am I supposed to do with this? It was really fun.
Okay, listen, they're telling me I am way over time. We could have gone 2 hours, couldn't we?
We probably could have. Enough talk France and coffee and, yeah. But listen,
okay.
I want to thank everyone out there for all their support and continued support, and let them know that I am doing my best. I really am, and I will not stop until this film gets the distribution I feel it deserves. And please, stay tuned. I know what I saw, themovie.com. I'll have a trailer up there less than a week away, and we're doing a big CNN appearance, it looks like, on the 3rd. But, depending on, what happens with Michael Jackson's sudden death,
right.
Anything's possible at this point. But there will be some big announcements and some things happening in the near future. So.
Okay, well, let us know as soon as you know, and let's do this again, James.
I look forward to it, and thank you so much for having me on.
And I hope you can come back to Stephenville soon.
Here's what I want to do. I want to come to Stephenville and have a screening of the film.
We'll go to Woody's.
A free screen. I'm serious. I want to have a free screening of the film in Stephenville.
Oh, that would be fabulous. I can
know.
help you arrange that.
Help me arrange it. Let's do it. We'd have to be
okay. Let's do it.
Yeah, we'd have to be. Maybe what I could do is I could have a shortened version. That way, I wouldn't jeopardize any plans of. Maybe I think if it's free, or somehow we can arrange it in a way that it won't jeopardize. Any film festivals or broadcasts. So,
right.
Yes, you should definitely arrange it. I think it'd be a great idea, and I'd love to do it.
Okay.
I'd love
Let's work on that.
You guys are great.
Well, I'll be talking to you soon. And for all of you listeners there, thank you so much for joining us. And James has been a great guest, and I really feel he's a friend to me. He's always been courteous and so good to me, and I appreciate him so much. And listen, I just really appreciate all the people in the chat room. This has been really fun watching everything you had to say. And I guess for tonight, we've got to go. Thank you. Good night.